Welcome. Shawn here with Accelerators Organization, ready for another mentor session answering your questions. Remember, you can always ask a question by going into the mobile application and clicking on the button there on the bottom right-hand side to ask a question, or log into the portal and ask a question. The mentors are asking me for more and more questions. They are ready to help you. No questions are off limit. If you just need any help with anything in your business, please ask, and I'll make sure and get in front of the right mentors, or I'll respond to you by email, okay? All right, first question. Gotta put the glasses on. First question comes from Rohit. And Rohit says, is it necessary to have your core values, mission and vision statement, and your why visible for customers to see? The background is we are getting a storefront in a couple of months and wondered if this will make customers loyal to the brand. I've got about 7 mentors answering this for you, Rohit, but there's no yes or no answer to this. It's really however you want to build your brand. There are a lot of brands that are very customer-centric, and part of their brand is to showcase their mission and vision and core values and all the different things, and it's part of their vibe, you will, their culture, like Apple, things like that. There's a lot of other types of companies that are quite different. This is a decision that we as entrepreneurs actually get to make when starting our own companies, is we get the ability to decide for ourselves what we want to do. So is it required? Is it vital? Is it necessary, as you ask? If you want it to be. If you don't want it to be, then no. It is not necessary. I would say that if I was going to put the word necessary on this, I would say it's necessary for your core values, your vision, and your mission to be very much part of your training and onboarding for your culture of your teams and on the backside of your business. Make sure that all your team members understand the vision and mission and core values, and make sure that when you're hiring somebody that they sign off, that they agree to the core values of the company, that value system of the company matches their value system, because that's very important as it will relate to them being motivated and inspired to do a good job in your company. But as far as letting your clients and customers see that, that's a total arbitrary decision. We use the vision and mission statements of AO. We do put it on our website, and we do put it in many of our marketing materials, because we're that type of organization, and we feel that we want to attract those type of people, and we want to be clear with our messaging out there. I don't think that we have our core values listed on our website. I don't know why I don't, but I don't. I don't have a problem with people seeing it. No, I think it would be great, but we do use our vision and mission statement on our website to help in our marketing efforts, so people can understand what we are about, what we're trying to accomplish out there in the world. Okay, hope that helps. Next question comes from Carrington, and Carrington says, is it ever beneficial to pursue a second business while still building out your current business? The background is I'm currently working to grow and learn to expand my current product photography business. I know I am notorious for always wanting to do more, and my creative mindset is always thinking, and the gears are always turning. Does the potential opportunity to pursue another business idea hinder the growth of my current business, or if not, when is it worth looking into different avenues to work alongside my photography business? Thanks. All right, I've got about 10 different mentors answering this one for you, Carrington. Is it ever beneficial? Well, beneficial would be an arbitrary or subjective type of viewpoint. Personally, I like to look at it this way. Any minute, as a small business owner especially, that I take my eye off of my primary business is a minute that business is going to be suffering. If I put my time and attention towards something else, then this business is not getting everything from me that it could. And so yes, I do think it's detrimental to the first business or the single business to be distracted by trying to start another company. Now, where this might be okay is if you have a secondary company that complements your primary company, and or you have people who are running your primary company whether it's a general manager or a CEO that you brought in or something that gives you the time, freedom, and flexibility to go ahead and devote attention elsewhere. Generally speaking, if we take time away from our primary thing, then that primary thing is going to be hurt. And I've seen this question asked over the years by many of my coaches, mentors, and people in my network. And this is the answer that they all say, is exactly what I said. But the word beneficial is subjected to the desires and goals that you have for yourself in your situation. If you can find a reason why it would be beneficial to you, that's one of the beautiful things of being a business owner and entrepreneur is you get to live your life and run your businesses the way that you want. Okay, next question comes from Carrington. And Carrington says, what are ways to incentivize word of mouth referrals? The background is I run a product photography agency, and whether it's through current clients or networking, what are good ways to incentivize people who share your information? Are there different techniques for different types of connections, such as current clients versus non-clients, local networking, relationships, etc.? Okay, I've got about 10 mentors answering this one. There is a book and a website called Giftology. That would be the singular piece of advice that I'm going to give you, is to go read that book, go to that website. Creating a gifting program for people that refer you business is a fantastic way to do it. There's an art and science around it, and I'd recommend reading that book. So there you go. The only thing I'd add on top of that is when you have conversations with your current clients and you're letting them know that you appreciate any introductions, and I like to use the word introductions as opposed to referrals, but introductions to people in their network. One of the things that I love to do as a mentor and as a person of influence is I love making connections. And I like to tell people that if I'm looking for them to make introductions to me is, listen, I know what it's like to know who you can refer business to or who you can make introductions to. I want to make it really easy for you to make introductions to me. And I want you to know that when you introduce me to people, I'm going to take care of them and it's going to make you look good. Whenever somebody gets a brand new phone, a brand new widget, a brand new website, any type of, apparel, whatever it might be, they always love to brag and introduce it to somebody. And so just make sure that when people do make introductions or referrals for you, that you do have some sort of program that you say thank you, but make sure that you let that person know that made the introduction that you're going to take care of them and make it worth their while from just being a trusted resource. Okay, next question comes from Kristen, and Kristen says, how do I ask a client for a deposit on a bulk order? The background is I'm a startup golf apparel wholesaler with limited cash flow. I am selling clothing to golf course pro shops. I also work a second job as the COO for my dad's golf business, where we buy from vendors for 10 golf course pro shops. The vendors only collect from my dad's business 30 to 90 days after shipment. No deposits needed. Being that I'm a startup, I need a deposit in order to place an order with the manufacturer. How can I get new buyers to trust me to make a deposit on a bulk order of my clothing? I have a sales report from my first year in business and can show that I am in my dad's 10 shops. Okay, I've got about 10 different mentors answering this one for you. Well, how do I ask a client for a deposit? Hey, Joe, I see that you want to place an order for 20 of this. I'm going to need a deposit of 50% of the invoice and the other 50% with net terms of 30, 60, 90, whatever. That's how you ask. If you have an issue asking, that's on you, not your client. In these days, most people are used to being requested for a deposit on things, especially inventory. I would just ask. If you get any pushback, then you might ask a question and say, hey, I'm brand new into business. The normal in the industry is that people get net terms. What are some things can I do to access funding to fund my invoices until my clients pay with their net terms? And there are different funding options out there in the world, such as factoring, accounts receivable, financing. There's all kinds of things that you can do. You could also take a look at the type of return on investment that you get on flipping your inventory. And if you can put together an accurate enough forecast or projection on the amount of times you flip your inventory and what the gross margins are, or even net margins that you have on that, you might even be able to convince an investor to loan you $25 or $50 or $100,000 with favorable high, it'd be like hard money lending, maybe 12, 15% interest. But if you're making 50, 75% interest in margin and you're flipping it all the time, it might be worth it for you to pay those types of interest rates so that you can flip inventory even more. Okay, food for thought. Okay, the next question comes from Rohit, and Rohit says, should I increase product prices for a storefront? The background is we are getting a storefront around December. In order to pay rent and utilities, does it make sense to increase prices or just leave them where they are? Product ranges from 50 cents to $15 plus. Okay, I've got about 10 different mentors answering this for you, and I'm hoping they can provide some insight. But quite frankly, I don't know if this is enough information to really answer this question, Rohit. As it relates to pricing our products and services, it's really important to understand our margins from our margin and our margin percentage that we have on each item. You're obviously going to be projecting how many you're going to be selling of each item on a monthly basis, a weekly or monthly basis, in order to just understand and manage your cash flow. It would be important, I think, for you to project the first 90 to 180 days of, here are all the items that we have for sale. This is how many we think we're going to sell of each. And here's the margins, and this is what that would mean as far as net gross margin. And then we would build in our spreadsheet what all the expenses are for the company and determine if the prices that we have on those products, if we sell this amount of these products, then we will have a profit at the end of the day. Obviously, when it comes to pricing your products, the market is going to have some sort of price range usually on products of what you can and can't charge. If a candy bar is 50 cents in one place, for you to be able to offer and sell it for $1 would depend on what's the scarcity. Are you the only shop in the neighborhood? Do people have to buy it from you? Blah, 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 blah. Or they might just go, I can buy the same exact candy bar right across the street for 50 cents. I'm not buying this one here. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. So I don't know if I have enough information to answer this, but I will tell you this, statistically speaking, from things that I've read over the years, we can increase our prices of our products and services by 6 to 8% every single year and have very little resistance or pushback from your current customers. Look at your cell phone bills, look at Netflix, look at all of your subscriptions. Everybody just increases it incrementally, and most people don't have a problem with it. But I would, if I were you and your brother and you're opening up a storefront, I would certainly belong to some industry trade Facebook groups or industry trade associations in which you are networking with other store owners in a similar type of business, where you can ask these types of very niche to your business type of questions. Here in AO, we can certainly help you understand how to price your products from a percentage and from a margin perspective, and work with you. And I can introduce you to some coaches. It would cost you to hire them, but some coaches to help you analyze those numbers and put together those spreadsheets. But if it were me and I owned a retail store, I would certainly belong to some industry trade groups with similar store owners like that, where we can swap ideas like that. Okay? Hope that helps. Okay, the next question comes from Rohit again. Oh, wait, that's the same question. Never mind. The next question comes from Ricardo. And Ricardo says, how does a small business owner onboard their new hires? The background is I own and operate a barbershop business, and I do not have a well-rounded onboarding process. I often find myself not taking the time to create this, and when the time comes, it's not smooth. Where should I start? Thank you. Well, you already started by asking your question right here in AO. I've got about 6 different mentors answering this, and specifically 6 people who have really good experience onboarding new employees, new team members. I am not an expert in this, but let's just kind of walk through this from a scenario perspective, okay? Let's just imagine it's one of your team members' first day. What I like to do is imagine what that would look like in my mind and then start writing it down. So the first thing is I'm going to give that new team member instructions on what time to show up, right? And where to go, how to dress from a apparel perspective, those types of things. I might also, before they even show up, let them know that they do get 2 breaks, however you have to say it, 2 breaks and lunchtime. And I would say we do have a microwave or what kind of kitchen utensils. So if they do want to bring their own food, there is an employee refrigerator. So I want to walk through all the different scenarios as though I am that person and I'm going to show up to work my first day. What should I expect? Do I bring my lunch? Do I get breaks? Am I allowed to smoke? Is there a refrigerator? Is there a microphone? Is there a coffee machine? Is there a vending machine? Are there sodas? What's provided? I want to kind of know what to expect even before I show up, right? So the next thing is if I tell the person, you're going to start your shift at 9 o'clock. So we like everybody to get there 30 minutes in advance, 15 minutes in advance to kind of get everything put away, get your station set up, blah, blah. Just imagine you're going through it just like you're them. If my first haircut is at 9 o'clock, then I need to show up at 8:30 because I need to do X, Y, Z in order to prepare. So then I want to imagine that they are walking through the door for the very first time. If it were me, I'd really want to make sure that I am available, because it's my business and this is how I would do it. I would want to make sure on that first day that I'm available right when they walk through the door to give them a nice handshake and say welcome. And if there's other people right there in the shop, have everybody say, hey, John, welcome, blah, blah, blah. Then I'd want to walk them around, make sure they have a good understanding of the workspace and the break rooms and the bathrooms and all that type of stuff. And I might have an employee handbook that has a lot of this stuff in it. But I want to just imagine myself that I am coming to work the first day. And I would also want to play out what does the first day look like. I might even plan out that I'm going to take them to lunch the first day. All right, and then I'm going to have a conversation with them at the end of the day to see if they have any questions. So that's what I would do from an onboarding perspective, is I would think of any and every question that new person is going to have on their first day or two and anticipate those questions and have it ready, maybe in some documentation, could be some training videos, all those types of things to make them feel comfortable, welcome, and set them up for success and show them and extend our culture to them. Okay? Hope that helps. All of this stuff can be documented in Trainual software, which is a software that we recommend. I'll talk to you about it on our next coaching call. Okay, the next question comes from Nadia. And Nadia said, if someone wanted to invest in me to open up a salon suites business, how much percentage would I have to give them? The background is I'm currently in a salon suite as a hairstylist, and I'm looking to expand to my own salon suites. Okay, I've got about 7 different mentors answering this one for you, Nadia. And so what I would say is, when it comes to offering any type of equity in your company to an investor who's going to invest in you, in a company your size, it generally speaking is going to be an arbitrary decision in which you get to live with. So whether it's 10%, 25%, 50%, 80%, it's really what you feel is fair and comfortable. The biggest thing that I learned in going through this process is it's really important to have an attorney that represents you, an attorney that represents the company, because generally speaking, most investors have attorneys that are going to review the documents. And it's important for you to have an attorney that represents your company that you're going to create, in which you're going to be a member of the LLC and they're going to be a member of the LLC, or you're going to be a shareholder and they're going to be a shareholder. It's really important to have a corporate attorney that sets up all of your charter and your bylaws in addition to your operating agreement. And I would highly recommend that before you enter into any real negotiations with an investor, that you have a consulting call with myself or Dan Abate or maybe Marcia O'Connor or a couple of us that have been through this, because you're going to want to get a corporate attorney, but in order to save you money with your attorney, a bunch of us that have been through this, we can give you all kinds of things that you're going to need to discuss with your attorney, that your attorney, your corporate attorney, will then discuss with you and this potential partner so that you guys can agree on certain terms. For example, money. Obviously, that's the biggest thing when it comes to getting an investor. An investor is going to put money in the company in exchange for equity or debt. In your situation, probably equity, right? So let's say, for instance, in this scenario that you're going to continue to maintain the majority ownership of the company. Let's say you have 75% and they're going to get 25% of the company. Well, what's the number one thing that an investor is what's on their mind? Well, how am I going to make money back? How am I going to make a return on my investment? Most investors want to see either a percentage, some good cash flow on their investment. Could be immediate, could be for at the end of the first year, could be, however. But a lot of times they're looking for an exit strategy that says that if I put money in this investment, that within 5 to 7 years, I'm going to at least triple my money, okay? Usually 5 years. In your business, you might not have an equity sellout to where they're going to get a sale of the company in, so they're really going to be looking for cash flow. How are you going to pay me back? So you're going to want to put together financial projections for maybe 2 to 3 years so that you can then determine, based on the amount of clients that come through, products and services that are sold, expenses of the company, what the net income is, and that can help understand the cash flow of what you might be able to pay back an investor. As it relates to money, you'll also want to come to an understanding of what your compensation is as an employee. And this is very complex stuff, but you want to make sure that your partner knows that you're not just going to drain the company and all its cash so that there's no profit left over that they get to tap into. And so you're going to talk about your employee agreement, your compensation agreement, and agree to all these terms up front, because the best time for both of you to negotiate all of this type of deal, transaction deal type things, is when you're on good terms and you're friends, because at that moment you're going to be the most fair. Remember that a reason that a contract exists is not when you're getting along, it's when you're breaking up and when you're having problems. When you're having problems or you're breaking up, you're going to refer to the legal documentation, and that's going to dictate how things are going to happen if and when you should happen to have to go to court. So it's an arbitrary number as far as how much percentage you're going to give up. Depends on how much money they're giving you. Depends on what you think is fair. I can tell you that I gave up too much of my last company. I'm not, I don't regret it, because fortunately I had a really trusting and good business partner. But later on it did come back and bite me in the butt a little bit, and I wish I would have known how to negotiate the contract in the very beginning. I can certainly help you through this on some consultation phone calls, but you will need to get your own attorney and an attorney that's going to represent the company. Very, very, very important. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, the next question comes from, I think that was the last question. Actually, there's one more came through today. The last question comes from Lamont, and Lamont says, when should I increase my pricing and by how much? The background is I own a technology company where we provide solutions to home and business owners that give them peace of mind, security cameras, point of sale systems, tech products. I've been operating from home for several years, and now I'm finally taking the leap to open a storefront and showroom. With the additional overhead of rent, utilities, and paying staff, I want to adjust the pricing on some, if not all, of my products and services. Is it wise to just increase my pricing by 20% or so to cover the new overhead? Okay, I've got about 7 different mentors answering this for you. A lot of times I don't think it's just an arbitrary number that, I have more expenses, I can increase prices to what have you. I was talking to another AO member that I'm personally coaching, and we were talking about pricing. Remember, pricing is usually, I say usually, not always, usually dictated by what the customer is going to be willing to pay for it. And usually with most products and services in the marketplace, there's a range. Low end being the cheap, not a really strong brand, it's just cheap, maybe not even the best quality, but it's cheap. And then you've got the high end, luxury, high quality, white glove service, excellent packaging, whatever it might be. And that's what's going to dictate the difference of the range, the brand itself, and all of the different service levels, features, and all those types of things, right? We can't just say, well, I need to charge $500 for this because I need that in order to make sure that I make a profit in my company based on what my overhead and my expenses and everything is, when the competition is charging $50. How often do you think you're going to sell your $500 product when there's a comparable product that somebody has access to for $50, right? This is why it's really important, and what you might want to do is maybe hire a forecasting and projections consultant. I have a guy that I can introduce you to. He's one of your mentors, Dan Abate, and he's probably going to, I think I have him answering this for you. Let me make sure I do. I don't know why I don't, but he should be. But you would want to run your numbers. So you might run a financial forecast that says, these are all the products and services that we can offer. This is a projection of how many of these products or how many of these services that we will sell on a monthly basis. Then here are our expenses. If I add up all of the products and services that I'm going to sell, that's what this total is. And then if I minus all the expenses, is there a net profit at the end of the month? And then I have to determine, is the problem that I'm not selling enough products and services and I got to sell more? Or is it that I'm underpriced? In any type of situation like this, I'm always going to take a look at what's out there in the marketplace to determine what is my competition. What can people find that is of a similar service or product to mine, and what's that price range, and where do I fall in that? And how do I make sure that I'm getting the highest end, or am I going to make the lowest end of cost, but I'm going to make it up in volume? These are all just ordinary business decisions that we all make as entrepreneurs, right? And I would want to make sure and put together that financial forecast of these projections. These are called forecasts and projections. I like to usually start off with a minimum of 90 to 180 days. It's always best if you can do a year, but when you're first starting your business and you might not have a lot of experience, you might not even know what numbers to plug in. But the point of the exercise as it relates to forecasting and projections is to just shoot your dart on the dartboard and just put a number arbitrarily in there that you think is the closest. And you might have a couple different sets of numbers. You might have in a worst case scenario and in a best case scenario, like an optimistic and a pessimistic, realistic, right? And so as long as you meet these numbers, which you're like, there's no way I'm not going to meet these numbers, what does that look like to my projected profit and loss statement, right? And then in your financial projections, it's usually an Excel spreadsheet. You have your projections column, which is your budget, and then you have your actuals. And then you put your actuals in each and every month, and then you'll subtract the two for your plus or minus column. And then you can start to compare that month to month from year to year so that you can get better and better and better over time at creating those budgets for the future year. Companies get so good at this that they know how to calculate their forecasts and their budgets, get that over to their leaders or managers and their teams, spread that out to the rest of the rank and file team members, and have a really, really good idea of what the next 12 months is going to look like before it even happens. And that's when it gets really cool, because then you can spend a little bit more time on certain sales and marketing activities that might increase revenues by 20% this year, 50% this year, 100%, whatever it might be. So I would look to run those numbers in an Excel spreadsheet, take your best guess at what you think it's going to be, do your price comparison out in the marketplace, and then track it on a monthly basis. And you certainly want to make sure that you have a good accountant and bookkeeper taking care of this stuff on a monthly basis for you, so they can provide you reconciled financial statements that show you your actual profit and loss each month and help you kind of tweak it as you go along. All right? Hope that helps. Okay, that's today's mentor session here in AO. I hope you guys have a great day, morning, or night, wherever you are, and get in and ask some more questions, and look forward to helping you grow your business, struggle less, and succeed more. Peace out.